I have a presentation for it too, but I just want to cover a couple things first. And it's a little different this year because you notice you're not getting your neat little tabbed booklet. And that's because there is an OMB compliance supplement, and that's related to federal funding, that they issued a draft version of it. It was out there for public comment. And so they went through that, and it's sitting on somebody's desk right now, and it hasn't been officially released. So until it's officially released, we can't do a final version of our financial statements. The rest of the financial statements are fine. I think even our federal statements are fine. What we're waiting to see is it a prospective, right? Is it retro, or is it into the future for fiscal years ending September of '25? And so every school district in the state is in the same boat if they receive federal funds and have to do a schedule of federal awards. So
it's an additional schedule that
not an additional schedule to change and like how it looks, that type of thing. So it doesn't change our numbers.
So not a problem, just you're waiting to see what is required.
Yes. Yep, exactly. So that's why you see this neat little just black and white and binder clipped copies. So you have my memo that really just gives some really high level highlights, walks you through the statements in terms of what you can find in the, we call it the ACFR. So I'm not going to go through this because we're going to go into some details, but if you've got questions, then we can go through that later. You have my budget variance analysis. We're going to go through that as well on the presentation. And then you have a couple letters from Maynard Costerison. One is the report to the Board of Education, so that covers any major audit issues, which there were none. If there were any disagreements with management, which there are none, but at least it gives you kind of little snippets from that. And then you also have the draft letter related to food service fund balance. So we have an excess still that has narrowed quite a bit in terms of how much that is. I want to say it was 400,000 maybe. So down significantly, and we've been doing some improvements on the food service side to narrow that as well. On the statements themselves, there are some pages that we'll highlight, but what I'd like to do now is why don't I throw it up on the screen, and we can kind of give you the results this way, and then I'll circle back to the statements themselves. All right, so our general fund revenue, and you can see here we budgeted $31.35 million on the local side. It came in at 31.2, so we were under about 120,000. And then you can see what we've done on the state, federal, and that incoming transfers and other column. Remember that incoming transfers, that's most of that is the revenue that we're getting from the ISD related to our Act 18 special education village. So very close, right? In total, we budgeted $137.7 million in revenue. We came in at 137.1. So just short a little bit by $558,000. On the expenditure side, a little bit larger of a gap. So we budgeted $138.5 million in total, and our actual came in at 133.5. So we've got a $5 million variance. And we'll go through those variances in just a minute as they relate to the fund balance in total. So here's just a high-level summary then, our total revenue and expense that we just looked at, and the impact that does to our fund balance, right? So on budget, we thought we were going to end the year at about $23.6 million, but because of our variances here, we ended the year at about $28 million of fund balance, which is good as 21% of our expenditures. So now we're just going to dig into the why a little bit, and as it relates to fund balance. So it was a almost a $3.6 million add to fund balance. And here's the why, and I like to start, I think I started this last year when we had that larger variance as well. I thought this was a good way. I got feedback on how to explain it and show it. So we budgeted to use the $864,000, so that factors in. Our 10-year average variance is now 1.89%, so that changes every year, right, as the year So we would expect to have a positive variance of $2.5 million there. Tina and I are probably a little more conservative budgeting for wages and benefits, so there was a little extra on the table for that. So we've talked about some ways we can maybe dial that in a little bit to get a closer picture as we move throughout the year with our budget amendments. My school at Kent, so to the credit of our instruction team, we really felt this past year it was important to bring our kids back, and so we did a really good job at that. We still had a few at my school at Kent. We didn't pull the budget down enough, so that's why the variance is for that. But the program's going well, and I think the teacher presented at a board curriculum meeting last year. It was really fun. What we also found in our review was that enhancement millage that we have. So that money comes in and it supports our teachers when